the 14th of, was it 13th or the 14th was World Press Freedom Day, when we spoke to the Grandmaster and one of his proteges on the show, talking about press freedom. And did you have any personal relationship with Big G?
I wouldn't say I had a relationship with him, but I spoke to him a few times. I think the last time or before we spoke to him for World Press Freedom Day, the last time I'd spoken to him on the phone was around the time when he received a special honour. It was a night when I think the Malcolm Group.
I think it was World Radio Day, rather. Sorry, I mistook. So February 13th is World Radio Day.
Rather than
That's
Press
when we
Freedom
spoke to
Day.
him. Yeah, Press Freedom is in May.
So he was amongst a group of, I think it was something like 13, 15 people who were honoured for their unique contribution to standing up for free speech, press freedom in this country. Other people honoured on the night were figures such as Cameron Dodu for the role that he played in this country, standing up against a government in the Second Republic, notably. Elizabeth Ohene for the work that she did, standing up in the days of the PNDC for her own profession. Kwabena Jimose Bunsu for resigning from a government of which he was the youngest cabinet member, on the grounds of the dismissal of, I believe, was the editor of the Daily Graphic of the day. That was again an incident from the Second Republic. And Godwin Avenorgbo for what he had done, holding the fort at GBC during some very tight times for journalists when they were on a very tight leash. You can imagine working for the state-owned broadcaster pre-liberalisation of the media. And at a time when your every word was watched. I believe it's something he spoke about at length also in a documentary that he did with GBC TV, where they spoke with some of their greats from GBC.
Yeah, this was as they were marking their anniversary.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. But I spoke to him amongst other things about his work that he was doing at the Melcom Group, but really wanted to talk to him because it's a period I slightly missed out on for reasons of being absent from the country when he was really at his peak, when he was training the likes of Kuja Mensah. And I really wanted some insights into that broadcasting past. We'd spoken to other greats of the past, such as Robert Owusu and so on. He was I'm afraid he had too many engagements at the first time we went to him. So we booked a slot, and then he had a conference come up that he had to prepare for, and he said it was a subject that you would have thought somebody in their retired years who's
would have so much time on their hands, right?
Well, not just would have so much time on their hands, but would also want to coast it and take things easy. But he said it was a conference on climate change that he had been invited to speak at the same time as we were inviting him to come on Asaase, and he said he didn't know about it and he wanted to go and research it properly so that he would give a proper speech. Can you imagine somebody of that eminence taking that level of care for a one-off speaking engagement like hundreds of offers he must get every time? And so for that reasons we postponed then, and then later on I think he was just too busy with his commercial work for the Malcolm Group, which was going through a relaunch in the past year, and so we missed our opportunity. Although I'd met him once, as in shaking hands with him once, I really regret not having the opportunity to sit and have a long face-to-face with him.
Yeah. Well, I had, of course, if you're doing media and you don't know Godwin Avenorgbo, then you have to start over again. One of the few good men in the industry who had blazed the trail and set standards for all of us. And so you'd imagine one day I get someone sends me a link to a Facebook post which he had written about me. about an interview I had done, and he sort of like took his time to do a review of the whole thing, and I was so blown away because quite often it's easy for you to get feedback for improvement, as opposed to feedback to say you ticked the boxes and did a good job. And so it was really touching. And so I sought him out and called and said thank you. And from that time onwards, a mentor-mentee relationship commenced. The generosity of his experience, his humility after all that he had done. I mean, you name it. Was it Deutsche Welle, BBC, CNN? I mean, GBC. He's been there. He's done that. He's done it at an exceptionally high level. And so when he has time on his hands to also seek the good of people who are coming up, and it's not just me. I mean, you name it. Jerry Ajololo has benefited from Big G's influence and expertise. The recently crowned Journalist of the Year. Oh God, how am I forgetting her name? The lady at TV3, Media General, Gabo Portia. Yes, good. Another example. Nyo Falong, our own Bina Kwabi, you name it. He had been away from the media limelight for a long time, but he never stopped impacting on people and sharing his experience with him. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw him was exactly 10 days ago. On a Sunday, he was at his very good friend's birthday party, and I had been called in to MC. And when I showed up and I saw him, I immediately made a beeline and went up to him and gave him a salute. He says, "Hey, my friend, I used to teach at Bema Camp, and I like doing things properly. So let's rehearse the salute properly." So then we go through the motions, and then we did the salute, and I got it right. And he says, "Ha." Then he went on to say, "So what brings you here? I know you know Seal, but please tell me you're emceeing." I said, "Yes, that's what I'm here to do." He goes, then it's going to go right, And after all said and done, when he was about to leave, I walked with him to his car, and we stood there talking for over an hour. And guess what? We agreed we'll do Sunday night in 2 weeks.
There you go.
But even though we didn't get to do Sunday night, we did speak to him on the ABS on the 13th of February with him and his trainee, Kojo Mensah. Let's take a listen. Big G, I would like to start with you, the Grandmaster. What has been your radio journey, and looking back at radio's impact on society, from educating, entertaining, and inspiring? Hello, sir.
I know what's going on air, and then you can come.
Hello, sir. I think we're having a bit of a trouble with Mr. Avenorgbo's line. We're going to go back to him in a moment. Avenorgbo is back on the line. Good morning, Grandmaster. Thank you for your time on this Asaase Breakfast Show. We would like to learn from you. I mean, over the years, what has been your own observation of the impact of radio on our society, be it informing, entertaining, educating, or inspiring?
Thank you very much indeed for the opportunity. Radio is such a very powerful instrument. To a very large extent, radio has changed the world. Let me say that civilization would not have been reached to this level without radio. Radio made the whole world a one-world situation, a global reach, where knowledge is within the reach of anyone who cares. Radio has given birth to a certain commonality between the rich and the poor, as a way of bridging the gap, the powerful and the weak. It's technological and is a bridge with regard to the communication gap which would have existed over the years. We have definitely done so. We've tapped in, definitely so. But there are many positive sides of radio, but there are negative sides which you need to address. Some of these are attributable to how radio is managed, is financed, and is controlled. Let me say this on record, and I'll be happy to be quoted anywhere. Radio in this current state has been hijacked by the rich, by the political class, by the royal class, religious leadership, the business community, social contractors, and many more. The reason I'm saying this is that I entered radio then when radio was a service to humanity. And I grew into radio when it was commercialized for profit. But now, radio has been politicized for control and sometimes indoctrination and intimidation. This means that there's a lot more we can do to sanitize radio. And when we mention radio, we're also talking about television. I think Kojo has got this subject matter spot on, and I quite agree with him. I would prefer us to categorize radio this way. Independent from state control rather than independent. Because nobody invests money in setting up a media institution without influencing it. Mm. The influence begins with even recruitment, equipment, engineering, and all that. So there is actually no independent radio as far as I'm concerned. The investor has a say. The direction of the media, it cannot be independent, totally independent, not a totally independent. We have a problem in the developing world. State media is controlled by the executive. And so sometimes, like in the case of GBC, if the funding is denied or delayed, and appointments are not given to the best in the field, but those who can, yes, sir, master, have been there, and I know what it means. Every one of them. I have been privileged enough to be trained in one of the best institutions as far as media. Mm. BBC, CNN, RSA, Dublin, the Irish Republic, Radio France. I had that privilege to have done an attachment after training. So the control is always there. But it depends also on the management. A qualified management of a system like radio should know their rights and their privileges. Must have a goal and objective. I said radio started as a service. Now it's commercialized. But that service element is critical for national development. Mm. If the leadership understands that, then there can be a balancing act to feed the people with the right information, right entertainment, appropriate, what I call discussions and so on and so forth, balanced. Let me give you another example. Every morning, political parties send their representatives to your radio station to discuss issues. Mm. The same people go around. And these people are paid allowances. It has become business. The business is to defend the political party, right or wrong. It's not correct. You don't build democracy that way. Show producers must have the right and privilege to invite anybody of knowledge to contribute to national development efforts by discussing issues, analyzing them, breaking them down, pinpointing difficulties. So for me, radio has changed. What is good about radio now is it's more fluid and it's faster, but there have been deviations from the standard, and I mean professional standards, because of interest groups that I'm referring to. Each one is taking a bit of the pie, and it's difficult to get it right. Well, some of these media houses are doing very well. I'm not here to condemn radio. Radio is doing very well. Radio has advanced. But these are in the minority. Others simply are joking and turning radio into third party, where they shout, they howl, they insult. That does not lead to development. It doesn't lead to education, information, not lead to entertainment. Education, not too good. Information, very good, but often screwed. Entertainment, too much of it. Radio is all about concert party. Now, look at this. How much airtime on a local Ghanaian radio station is given to health, agriculture, facilitation for learning and teaching, road safety, personal hygiene, civic education, courtesy, culture? I can go on and on and on and on. These are the disciplines we need to imbibe in order that we can grow as a society without a gap. But no, we wake up in the morning, at noon, and at night, and politicians don't access the airtime, spreading falsehood near and getting prodded on, by my colleague broadcasters, because there's a certain personal interest. And indeed, if in modern radio you don't do that, you are going to be a poor person. That's why many of us who did radio in the past are not very rich. But we are satisfied and content with our life. Indeed. So there must be a change. That change can be triggered by the National Media Commission. But I'll tell you something about the Media Commission though. Brainy, intelligent, qualified people, what are the tools they are working with? They are starved. So no matter how good ideas they have, institutional structure and so on and so forth, you need equipment to facilitate the process. And it should be a nationwide facilitation for the National Media Commission. So institutions exist on the Ghanaian Constitution, but they are not empowered. They have a task. I don't know how the solution is going to be like. We have begun to talk about it on World Radio Day.
Anywhere in the world you may care to think of?
Well, I would choose Radio 2.
Radio 2?
It's like I was born into the world of Radio 2.
BBC Radio 2?
Ghana First English Radio.
Oh.
No, local first. I'm behaving like a homeboy first before BBC Radio 2.
Right.
But the most exciting moment in my life on radio was on BBC Radio Ulster in Belfast, where as an intern I was appointed a producer of a segment which dealt with news follow-up. It gave me a lot of authority, gave me a lot of opportunities and contact. What I did actually was to look at the newspapers for the day in the UK, select areas, stories that have appeared in the news, and then the secretary of the organization, the production secretary, will make contact with the managing directors of work, capable of explaining the issues further. And then I produced this segment under Paul Clark, who was the show host. To the extent that after Paul Clark had an appointment in Australia to move, I was invited to take over his job. So that for me was a very significant, a magical moment in my life. And I walked out of there just after Ghana has taken the credit, not necessarily me. Yes.
Head held high. Presumably this was the time of the Troubles as well in Northern Ireland. The Troubles. Presumably this was at the time of the Troubles in Northern Ireland.
Actually, I was sent there from London. That's a very good question. Somebody was sent to Radio Xtra, BBC. Nobody wanted to go because of the trouble. I'm talking about 1983, when there was no car, So the school authorities looked at my background and they saw something that exposed me. I was a teacher at the Guardian Education Service, Burma Camp. So I worked under a military institution. So a meeting was held, and it was suggested that Godwin could spend 5 years under the Ghana Armed Forces. It is bold enough for us to send him to Belfast. So I was called and briefed.
Simple.
And I couldn't say no, so I accepted to go. And when I went there, my first night was the most frightening. There was fireworks all around the place. I thought bullets were flying.
They weren't actual bullets.
No, there were no bullets, no. It was fireworks. There was a celebration. I can't remember exactly what it is. The following morning, I called my supervisor and said, what has happened? Am I safe? Oh, no, we are no longer fighting. Skirmishes, yes, but that one was a celebration. They scared the life out of me. I said, I'm not coming to Ghana to Belfast to come and die. So Belfast gives me quite an interesting memory of what it is to do radio, Yeah, just...
Hello? Over to you, Godwin.
Yes. So let me add by saying, you see, listen to Kojo. If he talks to you on phone, if he talks to you reaches you on radio or face to face, Kojo's voice and tone, there's no difference. That's professionalism. No pretense. No. What's the English word? I can't remember the English word. So that is standard. We need training. Of course, I admit, radio set up for profit. Owners would not want to spend too much money training people. All the training I did were foreign sponsored overseas. I was lucky, I was blessed. Today it will not happen. Because my training in the UK, for example, I was told, was equivalent to a science degree course. Because a lot of it is travel by air and it comes with a whole lot of investment. There are a few things we can do locally. There are experts in Ghana today who are trained and are professionals. Some are on retirement. Invite them to upgrade the skills of your staff on air. It is possible at no cost at all. You can appreciate them. The other thing is methodology that we employ in broadcasting. Most people go on air without research. They don't have information on air. They sit behind the mic and say whatever pleases them. But you prepare before you go on air. Because you don't go on air to create doubts on the minds of people. They will not call you and say, what do you mean? No, it doesn't happen that way. So we should stop poisoning people's minds. Another major step in production is that content improvement changes and advances every hour. So if you have a 4-hour show or 3-hour show, your second hour should be better than your first hour. Your third should be better than the second, and so on and so forth. When you finish broadcasting, there's something called post-mortem. So you hold a meeting as a producer. We plan to do A, B, C. We did not achieve A. Why have we not achieved it? You note it down. So you don't repeat the same problem the following day. I have so many write-ups. When I call people, they tell me, unfortunately, we don't have the time to do post-mortem. As soon as we finish the broadcast, we're all gone out. So internally, the structure must be so programmed that there should be post-mortem. There should be